5:40 a.m. I was walking down the jet bridge to board an airplane. Now, I fly around 200,000 miles a year and find that the first flight out in the morning has the fewest delays and the most frequent flyers, fewer hassles. But I want you to come back to that moment with me for just a minute. Close your eyes and envision this scenario. Close your eyes. It's before 6 in the morning. You're walking down a dimly lit jet bridge. The person in front of you and the person behind you has a cup of coffee in one hand, a smartphone in the other with their boarding pass on it. And they're staring off into nothingness. This is one of the least memorable moments in your day. Until one time last year, on a day trip from Chicago to San Francisco, that was about to change. Open your eyes. So when I stepped from the jet bridge onto the plane, there was a man in a captain's uniform standing there handing out these trading cards. And my assumption was this is just United Airlines' way of pretending to care, of doing a marketing experiment to say, what would it be like if we actually greeted people and interacted with them when they came on the flight? And so didn't think much about it, sat down, but I did notice that that captain then went to the cockpit. So I did what all of you do, put my noise-canceling headphones on and went to work and ignored the safety instruction of the flight attendant. But about an hour into the flight, I'm working, and a flight attendant came back and handed me this card. It was a business card, and on the back of it was a handwritten note. And that note, if you can't read it, it says, Mr. Burgess, you're a valued customer, and your business is greatly appreciated. Please let me know how we can exceed your expectations. Captain Denny. Now, I looked around the cabin, and there were a few other people, some other frequent flyers and some folks in business class that received this card, and the looks on their faces reflected what I was thinking. It was like shock and awe. Now, I fly a lot, and I've never had a handwritten note by anyone from an airline, let alone the captain. And so I started thinking about, I bet that moment created more brand loyalty for me than a couple of decades in their formal loyalty program. And I began to think about how can I apply that to my business? So the story's not over. As we're beginning to fly, we're just approaching and ready to descend. And I heard this.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain. During the boarding, I passed out Boeing 757 trading cards. If you pull them out of your pocket and you turn them over and you find a bunch of my signature on, just ring your call button and the flight attendants will bring you a complimentary bottle of wine from United Airlines.
Yep. On an airline, complimentary bottle of wine. Handwritten signature. One little thing. How much did that cost? How long did that take? Just a moment. But one little thing completely changed the experience. So I'm on spotty Wi-Fi on an airplane, and I went to LinkedIn and I looked up Captain Denny Flanagan. I found him, and I sent a connection request. And the good news is he didn't accept my connection request because he's flying the plane. So I was happy about that. Just checking. But when I walked off the plane, and then the rest of that day, it just kind of kept coming back to me about what an unusual experience that was. What was it that really hit me about that? And so I did a little bit of research, and I said, who is this guy? And obviously, it turned out he's pretty well known in flying circles, Captain Denny. And I started to read different things about him. There's a couple of things about his philosophy that I absolutely love.
Back here, because we probably got about
The first, he has this general philosophy that his cockpit is his sky office. It's founded on the belief that we are all CEOs of our own space. I really like that idea because if you show up to work that way, at LinkedIn, one of our values is act like an owner. If you show up to work that day, it changes the way you behave. It changes the way you interact with other people. It changes the expectations you have of what you're able to do and not able to do. and it adds to the bottom line of your company. The second thing that he has is a philosophy called work from the heart. He believes that, in general, this even starts with things like greeting people. You know, just saying hello to people. People want to be appreciated, acknowledged, recognized, and Captain Denny believes that he'll take it upon himself to make sure that that's the case in his world. My favorite example of this is when he has an unaccompanied minor on board. He gets the details with the parents' contact information on those passengers. And so often there will be a pilot riding in the jump seat along with, and sometimes even from a competitive airline, riding in the jump seat, and he'll ask them, can you do me a favor? Call this family and tell them that their daughter is safely on board. We're still on the ground, but she's safely on board. And so that pilot or the flight attendant will then go back, and they'll make the phone call. Simple thing, one little thing. You know, he says almost every time they come back, when they come back, they say, you know, that's one of the most memorable things I've done for a long time. One little phone call. Now, what just happened in that moment? In that moment, that person, that pilot who was expecting a boring ride in a jump seat, he just transformed their day. Or that flight attendant, that child, that unaccompanied minor, I guess I should call him a child. Unaccompanied minor is kind of like unaccompanied minor unit in 7B, you know, so child probably had a much better experience because the flight attendant went back and said, you know what, your mom said to tell you that she loves you. Changed everything. And I would bet the business value, I would bet that that mom or dad who received the phone call is a United Airlines customer for life. Because they're going to associate that experience with Captain Denny, with the person who made the call, and with the airline that they represent. So why am I telling you a story about, I'm going to try this. Why am I telling you a story about an airline captain? I'm really just checking to see if they can follow me with the lights. About an airline captain at a talent conference. And I think it's really based on this. I think that when you understand that sometimes it's just one little thing that can make a big difference, we can apply it to ourselves as well. And if you get nothing out of this conversation except one statement, it's this. You have the power to change the world around you. You have the power to change the world around you. There's a lot of things you can't control, but there are some things that you can, and often it's just a little thing. So let's put some work clothes on this. Let's talk about how does this apply to those of us who are recruiting talent. I think we all face a lot of similar situations, and I'm going to explain three of them. So one is the candidate experience, right? We're now moving into talent acquisition, so we all deal with the candidate experience and how to improve it. And I think that it's not simple. And we have an example of someone here who I think has really done a great job, that her and her team. And so, and I'm going to find her. She's in the audience with us here. But Melissa is someone that took a look at the candidate experience and said, you know, I really think we need to do some work here. So what she started doing with her team, I'm going to find Melissa in the audience here when the spotlight comes along. She started doing with her team is she started to say, let's do a Net Promoter Score, or NPS, survey of candidates. And for those of you not familiar with it, essentially tracks your promoters and your detractors. And that data is really insightful and helpful. But one of the things that Melissa and her team did is they decided, let's take it a step further, and let's actually do, just like Captain Denny talked about, let's pick up the phone, and let's talk to some of those detractors. And let's just go another level deep. And I love that idea. So Melissa, we're going to talk to the folks from that camera right there in the red. Hello, everybody. And so, and we're going to use a microphone, it looks like.
All right.
Great. So when you started doing this, like, what were some of the takeaways that, and by the way, volume. I was looking at volume. I understand you're hiring, like, or you're seeing 2,000 candidates a quarter or something like that?
Yeah. If you think about it, 2,000, 2,100 candidates a quarter. If we had 700 roles open, that's just about 3 candidates interviewing per rec. So it's a lot of on-sites, but honestly, it was more like 10 on some and 1 on other.
Yeah,
Average is 3.
I understand. That sounds like dangerously close to work to me. So what's some of the takeaways from these phone calls that you guys are hearing?
You know what? First, people are not shy to give you feedback. And so what we did was sort of started to look at the feedback, and we uncovered that our hiring managers weren't taking control of the process. They really didn't feel like the recruiting process was theirs. It was recruiting's. And so it caused us to develop some training for them to help them be more involved in the process, fix their LinkedIn profiles, take ownership of when candidates were on site.
That's interesting. So the insights weren't just about candidates, but about your team?
Absolutely.
That's really cool. Thank you, Melissa. A round of applause for Melissa, please. I think it's great. Thank you. And as a quick plug, you'll be able to see her breakout session tomorrow afternoon, so there's a mini advertisement there for that. So one example, candidate experience. Another is, by the way, you okay if I wander around like this in the crowd? I'm going to do it anyway. So another one is taking your consumer brand and aligning it with your talent brand. You know, we hear every conference we go to, people talk about this. There's a lot of papers about it. But in reality, how does that work? So I think one of the best examples that I personally can think of is Nordstrom. And so Nordstrom has an incredibly powerful consumer brand. It's one that, for me, actually forget about for me. Let me ask you what you think Nordstrom is known for. We're going to do, hold on one second. We're going to do, a great answer. I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Turn to someone next to you and tell them what you think Nordstrom is best known for. Ready? Go. All right. Whoa. Man, you guys are like active when we do this. And for those of you on the stream, I should have suggested you tweet about it and let us know what you think Nordstrom is best known for. What are a couple of things that we heard? You said one, customer service. Customer service, what else? Suits. I'm not going to repeat that one. Okay, great. So lots of ideas, Here, when I think of Nordstrom, I think of two things. One, I think customer's always right. And the second is you can return anything. Even occasionally a small child, right? You just like, it's a great experience. But imagine, there's some challenges too, because Nordstrom's a 114-year-old retailer. And as they've moved into e-commerce and then just the data-driven approach to retail today, attracting tech talent is not simple. As a matter of fact, if you're a programmer or a developer coming right out of university, retail's probably not top of mind. If you want to compound that, Nordstrom is headquartered in Seattle. And Seattle has some really strong tech giants there. So imagine trying to recruit tech talent to a retailer in Seattle. Not a simple thing. Now, one of the things that they've started doing, and Mary is with us here today, one of the things that they've started doing, and Mary, we're going to face that camera right there. One of the things they've started doing is taking that strength of the consumer brand and leveraging it with their talent brand. So a story that I heard, I don't know if this is true, you can validate it, was about a product manager with one of the tech giants who joined Nordstrom mostly because of his loyalty to the consumer brand. Yep. Is that accurate? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, he was happy where he was at, but as he got to talking to people in the industry and counterparts, he started to hear about things happening at Nordstrom. But for him, the big lever was his experience as a customer. So shopping in our stores, getting great service, and just the way he was treated really made a difference for him. And so he really felt like if they treat their customers that way, they've got to treat employees that way. And so he was really drawn to us.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Mary. Round of applause for Mary, please. You're all wondering if you're next, right? Thanks, Mary. And Mary has a breakout tomorrow afternoon as well. Plug number 2. So we talked about candidate experience. We talked about consumer brand tying to your talent brand. Another thing that I think becomes a challenge in our industry is getting the business leaders on board. Now, in your organization, this isn't a problem. But in other organizations, sometimes getting the business leaders on board is a challenge. And so I think one of the things that Ben, who I'm going to speak to next, talked about, he works for an organization called PharmaScience. And when he went there 2009, he noticed that there's a pretty serious opportunity to improve the leadership. And Ben had been with Novartis prior to that in 29 countries working with them, so he knew what great leadership looked like. And he started to implement some things, starting with himself, that could help them to really start to attract great talent by bringing in great leaders to talk to meet with, to build pipeline with, and setting that example for other business leaders to do the same thing. Not just when they're home, but when they're traveling, when they're on the road, and really to start to nurture those relationships over time. And Ben, thanks for being here, by the way.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, we're going to face, there's a camera at some point, it's going to have a red light on it if they do this the way I think it is. That one, bingo.
one.
So some of the results, like since you've been doing this, you've been doing this for a few years, and really just got the ball rolling. How is it playing out?
It's played out very well. I mean, we've changed. My issue was, the challenge you were talking about before, is that I had 2 shareholders that did not believe we needed to change the talent we had. So I had to find a way to convince them that stronger talent existed at the executive level. So it's this talent discovery approach. We've changed 90% of our executives. There's
90%.
one left who's actually retiring after 27 years of service. But the talent discovery approach was the gateway to get through.
So 90%?
90%.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you for sharing.
It's a pleasure.
And Ben, Ben's breakout is this afternoon, yeah? Yep. Yeah, this afternoon. So thank you, Ben. Thank you for that. So sometimes it's just very practical ways that you can apply to your industry. We're going to move to something completely different. Something we do every year that I look forward to, and I can't wait till it comes out and I get a sneak peek of it before we tell you about it. And that is the in-demand rankings. So every year, what we do, LinkedIn looks at who are the most sought-after employers in North America, well, all over the world. In this case, we're going to talk about North America. And rather than doing a survey of what people say, we just look at data about what people do. We look at the billions, with a B, billions of interactions of our 380 million members with companies. And that data helps understand the favorability of someone's employment brand and the way in which people interact with your company. Now, as you can imagine, this is a massively competitive space, and it's very dynamic. It's moving all of the time. And so being someone who makes this list of the top 100 in-demand employers in North America is a big deal. So the way we're going to do this is I'm going to announce on the screen the top number 26 through 100. And as they scroll up relatively quickly, so you got to pay attention, watch the screen. If you see your company's name, stand up. And if you're watching via the stream in your office and everybody else is around you, just like raise your hand and make a bunch of noise and make people wonder what in the world you're doing. And so that'll be fun. So when we scroll this up, stand up and stay standing when you see your company name. So ladies and gentlemen, the 2015 top 26 through 100 in-demand employers in North America. If you see your company's name, stand up and stay standing. It's a big deal. That's a big deal. Okay, stay standing. Stay standing, but Wade, what about the other 25, right? So stay standing, and I'm going to show the top 25 next. And when you see your company name, if you're on there, I would also like you to stand and stay standing. So all of you collectively will stay standing. So 2015, and by the way, there's a blog post that as soon as we're done here that it's going to hit, that will share detail. But when you see your company name, the top 25 2015 North America in-demand employers are as follows. So if you work for one of those companies, stand and stay standing. And for those of you, just stay standing for a moment. For those of you seated, I encourage you to look around for a moment. Look around at the folks standing. And this is a conference that's about you and for you. And so I would recommend that these are some of the people, if talent brand is important to you, these are some of the people that are doing the work that it takes to really get there. They know what it's like to succeed, they know what it's like to fail, and they know how to really accomplish something amazing. And for those of you standing, what I would encourage you to do is get together with your team while you're here. Come to the In Lounge as a team. And what we're going to do in the In Lounge, for those of you who are in this top 100, is we're going to take a group photo with you to sort of memorialize the moment if you want to. I'm going to show you a demo of that right now. So if you guys have the award? So Mark and Tejal are going to show you exactly what's going to happen. You guys stand up. You're going to go to the end lounge. You're going to stand and look just like this. Can we get a camera shot on these guys? You're going to look just like this. Zoom out a little bit so we can see the award. Make sure it looks nice and cheesy. Yeah, just like that. On the proverbial blue carpet with your award. Thanks, you guys. And by the way, that was a cameo. Mark and Tejal are leaders of putting this event together and making this happen every year. Tejal's been doing it from day one. Great job, you guys. Thank you for everything you do for making this experience exceptional. Okay, you can be seated. You can be seated. That's a big deal. And you know what I would bet? I would bet with most of those companies, they will tell you that their progress towards talent brands started with one little idea. It's probably just doing the little things that becomes the big idea. And so while you're at this event, I'm going to encourage you to look for that one little idea, those things you can implement. As a matter of fact, when you registered in your package, you got a notebook. And so if you have that notebook with you, pull it out. And inside of page 1, I'd write one little thing. And throughout the conference, start to take some of those ideas that you can maybe implement. One little thing. You don't have to change the world. Do one little thing. Because it's not the ideas you get, it's what you implement. It's not the enthusiasm you have when you leave here Thursday. It's actually the habits that you have on Monday. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So I'd encourage you to find those things and find the things that you're going to change to improve your world. And I can't wait to hear, and by the way, tweet about this stuff, share it in the app, share it on LinkedIn so that we can all see and hear and learn from it as well. And I have one more thing I'd like to share with you. And that's this idea that one little thing can have a compounding effect over time. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share with you the person who shared that thought with me, Captain Denny.
Thanks, Wade.
So, just for context, Captain Denny happened to be flying into LAX, and we said, "Can you, please?" And he did. What do you know? And so, but we fly a lot. This group travels a lot.
Thank you. I keep my job because of you.
So,
Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. But how do I put this? Pilots aren't like you. They don't do this stuff. So in your industry, what was the spark? I mean, what was the thing that caused you to start getting engaged and working in this way?
Well, Wade, when I was a Navy pilot, and when I was in the Navy, my missions were defined and my direction was true. But then I had my dream job was being an airline pilot. And when I came here, a whole new state of mind had to be developed. I witnessed delays, lost bags, and people sleeping in the airport. Has anybody ever slept in the airport? And it's not a good experience. But the industry, the whole airline industry is plagued with these problems. But like yourself, what differentiates you from competitors is how you take care of the customer. So I just had 3 simple ingredients for success. And like Wade mentioned earlier, I work from the heart. And then I treat each customer as the first time they ever flown on the airplane. Every time they walk through that door, it's the first time I treat them as I've ever seen them. Even if they have 1 million miles flying for United Airlines, it's the first time they ever flown the airplane, according to me. And the third thing is, I can't, or it's not my job, is not in my vocabulary. And that's how I work. And it works very well.
That's awesome. So I've got to ask, how many years you've been doing this? How many years you've been flying for?
44.
44. All right. Craziest story about it's not my job.
Craziest story. A few months ago, I was in Boston. Plane was full, 182 people, business travelers, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, going to San Francisco, doing a transcon. And cleaner comes up to me and says, "Captain, I dropped my radio, her little walkie-talkie, 3 inches by 8 inches, down the forward lavatory." So she reported it to maintenance. Maintenance is supposed to do a write-up on it. 45 minutes after departure, still we're sitting there. Everybody's going to miss their connections in San Francisco. I called maintenance. Mechanic comes up, and I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Well, Captain, they dropped it down there. They should take it out."
And I go, follow me. So we follow me down the first class. I take my hat off, I give it to him, I take my blazer off, I hand it to the mechanic. I ask the flight attendant for a trash bag. She gives me a trash bag, I put my arm in it. Now, I've never done this before, so this is all new territory for me. And I open the lavatory door, and I step in, and I was a little frustrated because of the mechanic's attitude. But I shoved my hand, I thrust it in there, and I had no idea how deep it was. I just thought I was going to go all the way down. Again, I've never done this before, but it's only 18 inches deep. So when I shoved my arm down there, I hit the radio, and it scooted off. But now I already committed myself. So I knelt down. On my hands and knees, and I stick my arm farther in. I'm squeezing everything softly, so I don't want it to get away this time. But then I hear the flight attendant behind me. I want to turn around and ask the mechanic and say, how big is this tank? And by the way, it's 2 feet by 3 feet, 18 inches high, if anybody wants. But anyway, I didn't want to turn my head around because I heard the flight attendant say, I'm going to film this. And there's no way I want to be on YouTube with my hand on it. So I'm squeezing everything softly, and I finally get the radio. And now the next problem. As I try to pull it out, that little flapper, you know what those are for? To catch the captain's hand when he gets it in there. So I caught my arm, so I just took the little pencil out, moved it, got it out, wrapped it back up, inverted the bag, gave it to the mechanic, and said, let's go.
That's awesome.
You know, it's just...
I don't think I'm ever going to hear "It's not my job" quite the same way again. That visual is going to keep hitting my mind. But thank you for spending the time with us. This is fantastic. Thanks for everything you do. So just on the idea that one little thing can build a lot of things, you know, this relationship started when Captain Denny passed probably several notes back to the flight attendant. One of them landed on my lap. I wrote a post about it. We started exchanging in-mails and emails at that point. And over the last year, I've kind of communicated. And it results in that one little note in this conversation about the radio in the lavatory. It's broadcasting to 15,000 people who can apply that to their own life and their own skills. The little things you do and understanding relationships matter have a massively compounding effect.
Thank you, Wade. Thank you, everyone.